I'm excited to have you join me today for this really fun mosaic sweater. And if you've never done a mosaic garment before, this is a great one to start with because we're going to do some easy pattern repeats for this, but the results are stunning. So let's talk about the yarn. Of course, this is the showstopper. There are so many different colors of Maxim Prism. So this is a DK weight yarn. This one is in the color Sunset that I'm going to be using today, but I've also made it with the Autumn Mist and their white Mellowspun. So Mellowspun is the yarn I'm using with this. It's a similar weight and they work really well together. This is the sand color, but like I said, there are so many different colors. I want to make a billion of these sweaters. They are so much fun. And it's honestly kind of quick to work up. I really am enjoying this project. The other things you will need is a tape measure. I always think when you're making garments, a tape measure is a fantastic idea because we want to make sure that we are on track in terms of measurements, just in case our gauge might happen to get a little bit off, and we can go ahead and fix that. And then you'll want a yarn needle to weave in those ends, scissors to cut them, and then I will be using 2 crochet hooks today. For the ribbing, we can go down to a 4mm if it's a bit loose, but if you're comfortable, you can use a 4.5 for this entire sweater. Now I did use a 4.5 for the entire sweater on this, but I would say have a 4mm close by just in case you want to tighten down the ribbing along the cuff or the neckline if you don't like it as wide as it looks. But I'm going to be rolling this entire thing on camera today in a 4.5mm crochet hook. Now to get started, we will be starting with the top neck ribbing because this is a top down seamless sweater. And we'll start by creating a slip knot and placing that onto our hook. And then we will go ahead and chain 5. Next, we're going to tighten down that last chain and working into the second chain from the hook, and I do like to do these in those back humps, we will single crochet 4. And then after doing row 1 of the ribbing, we're going to turn our work, chain 1, and I like to really tighten that down, and then working in the back loops only of these 4 stitches. So let me show you really quick with a needle here. When we go through the whole stitch, this is how we would enter with a regular single crochet, but we're only going to be going through this back loop of each stitch for this ribbing. And so we're going to single crochet in the back loop only for 4 for row 2. If I can get my yarn to agree with me here. So single crochet in the back loop only for 4. Now row 2 is our repeat row. We are simply going to continue to do this again and again and again. So I'm going to turn my work, chain 1, and working in those back loops only, single crochet 4. Now, no matter what size you are working, because today I'm going to be working size small on camera, but if you are working any size, this is how we are going to begin. The stitch counts will be the same for quite a few rounds on this. We are going to be doing some increasing as we go, but for the neck ribbing, we will do 120 rows. Let me show you what that looks like. I've already got it prepped here. So I've already done the single crochet ribbing for 120 rows. It is so fun to watch this yarn change color as you work with it. It just makes it really entertaining. And this is going to be the neckline. Now, you'll see in the photo, it's a little bit of a wide neck. If you don't want a wide neck, this is where I think I would go down to a 4mm, making the ribbing a little bit more structured and pulling that in just slightly. Or the other option is you can do more stitches and make this wider, which would cut down on the opening of the neck. But we do want 120 rows of this to keep it in pattern. Now our next step here is to join the row that we are currently working with the very first row, and we want to make sure that when we are doing this there are no twists or turns in this neck ribbing. So I have started by chaining 1, tightening that down, And now we're going to take our two edges together and we're going to go through the back loop only of the first edge as well as the back loop only of our very first row, yarn over and slip stitch those together. And then we're going to do that for each stitch across. So back loop only, and then slip stitch those together. And we'll do that for all 4 stitches. Now here's where you can also choose. If you like this side of the work, leave it this side. If you like that side better, flip it and have the other side. It's really up to personal preference for this one. Now we're going to do a little bit of prep before we get into our next section here. So we're still in the neck ribbing, we're still using the same yarn, and this is our color B in the pattern. So we're going to start by chaining 1. And then we're going to work a single crochet along the first row edge of this ribbing. And now we're going to go through that left bar there of that stitch and then into the edge of the next row of ribbing. Yarn over and pull that loop up and through and also through the first loop on the hook, and then yarn over and pull through 2. Now we're going to repeat that all the way around, doing 1 stitch per edge. So there will be a total of 120 stitches all the way around, but we're doing them in this way because it makes a really nice and clean transition. So once again, we go through that left bar of the previous stitch, into the space along the edge of the row, yarn over and pull that through and through the first loop on the hook, yarn over and pull through the last 2. And we're just going to repeat that all the way around, working 1 stitch per row. And this creates a really nice transition between the neck ribbing and what will be the body of this. So what it's doing is it's almost creating a line that a slip stitch would right here, and then we have stitches that are ready to work and set up for us once we start getting into our body mosaic crochet work. So I'm going to continue this all the way around. And if you prefer, you can just slip stitch around and then single crochet into those slip stitches. It's completely up to you if you don't want to use this method. I've fallen in love with it and I find it pretty quick, just going around once, getting a really nice smooth transition that looks clean. After working all the way around, we are ready to start round 1 of our mosaic color work. So I want to bring in the chart. I have this in written instructions as well as a chart for each section. This will be the section 1 that we're going to be working first. I've broken them up into sections because these V's indicate an increase, and then once it increases, the chart will kind of shift, so I start over with a new chart. So section 1 is rounds 1 through 7, and we're going to be working these up together. Our first round is round 1. We already have our setup round here, which we'll be talking more about this round when it gets to round 2. But for right now, we're just going to concentrate on round 1. You'll see a red line here. The reason why I put it there is because this first row does not count. These are not stitches before the red line. The reason why I did this is because as you're following the chart, I wanted you to quickly get a snapshot of what color you should be using for what round. We're only going to use 1 color at a time here, and this is the overlay technique of mosaic, where we're just going to be working continuously in the round, 1 color at a time. So for round 1, we're going to be looking at these stitches here. So this is a 6 stitch repeat for round 1. We're going to be starting with our color A. Our color A is going to be the main color, so we're going to grab that. And when it comes to changing colors, because we will be at the end of our round, we're not joining here, we're going to be working continuously. So you're going to go to the last stitch worked in the round, and before you do that very last yarn over, we're going to yarn over with a new color. That way we're set up for our next round. Now for this round, there are no X's. The X's are what indicate a mosaic double crochet. For round 1, there are no X's. We will be working in the color A, and we're going to do that all the way around. And when we just see squares for round 1 that are plain white or in this green, this is going to be single crochet in the back loop only. So the entire round one is really simple here. We're simply going to start by single crocheting in the back loop only of that first stitch, and then we're going to continue that all the way around. So round one is simply single crocheting in the back loop only. And that leaves these front loops open for us to use on round two when we get there. So I'm going to finish round one and then we'll come on back. After completing round one, we are all the way back at the beginning here. I'm on my last stitch of round one, and this is where I will yarn over and pull through with the color B, because round two is the color B. So I'm setting myself up to do the color work for round two. Now round two on the chart, we've indicated that it's going to be color B. We're ignoring this column right here. This is just indicating color, and that's why I've done that red mark. But then we have a blank white square and then a square with an X in it that is green. Here's how we're going to work this. Any blank white square will be a single crochet in the back loop only. Any square with an X is a mosaic double crochet. That will be worked as a mosaic double crochet in the round below. So let's do this across. And the repeat here is simply going to be single crochet in the back loop only, mosaic double crochet. Single crochet in the back loop only, mosaic double crochet, and we're repeating that all the way around. So for the very first stitch of round two, we will single crochet in the back loop only, and notice while you can throw a stitch marker in here to indicate the first stitch of the round, we change colors so it's pretty easy to see where the beginning stitch of our round is. Now our next stitch is going to be worked into the front loop only from the round below. So we're going to yarn over, insert into the front loop of the stitch of the round below, and then complete a double crochet. And let's do that again. We will single crochet in the back loop only of the next stitch, and then working in the round below, a mosaic double crochet. And notice that I'm not working the stitch that's behind this mosaic double crochet, because that stitch is this stitch, and we've already counted for it. So we don't work the stitch sitting behind it. We work the next stitch in the back loop only, and then mosaic double crochet into the next from the round below. So single crochet into the back loop only. In the next stitch, mosaic double crochet in the front loop from the round below. And that is our repeat all the way around. It's quite simple. Just doing that 2-stitch repeat all the way around. Just make sure that you are careful where you're placing your stitches. This round two is really what's going to set us up for the rest of it. And once these stitches are set up, then you can see it's much easier to recognize the pattern because we'll be working into certain stitches. But we are going to continue to single crochet in the back loop only, and then mosaic double crochet into the next stitch. Now when I get to the last yarn over of the very last stitch of round two, I'm going to drop my yarn to the back and pick up my color A, and now we are set up to work round three. Now looking at round three, this is where we're going to bring in some mosaic double crochet stitches into this color. We're going to be starting with a mosaic double crochet, and then we will single crochet in the back loop only, mosaic double crochet, single crochet, and that will be our repeat around. Now when it comes to working this mosaic double crochet, we'll do it in the same way. We're going to be working it from the round below. We're going to start by doing a double crochet into that front loop from the round below, and then a single crochet in the back loop only of the next stitch. So once again, that is a double crochet into the front loop from the row below, and then a single crochet into the back loop only. And this will be our repeat all the way around. And if you're ever not sure where you should be placing your stitches, you can also take a look at the chart and see what is working into what. So we know that this is going to be worked from the round below, and then we know when we single crochet in the back loop only, that's going to be worked into that mosaic double crochet stitch. So single crochet into the back loop only, double crochet into the front loop of the round below. And we will repeat that all the way around for round 3. Now we're going to switch back to our color B on that last stitch, and we are ready for round 4. Now round 4 is actually a repeat of round 2. So we're going to be working it the exact same way. So I'm going to work that off camera and come back for round 5. Now for finishing off round 4, we're going to switch these colors back to the color A, dropping our color B to the back, and now we're ready for round 5. Now round 5 will start with we're working this entire round in the color A. It will start with a mosaic double crochet, single crochet in the back loop only, mosaic double crochet, single crochet in the back loop only, mosaic double crochet, and single crochet in the back loop only. Now I know that round 5 it will in the end appear and be different than round 3, but the instructions are actually the same. So round 5 is simply a repeat of round 3 because every green or white square on those rounds are worked as a single crochet in the back loop only. So we're going to repeat round 3 for round 5, and that will start with a mosaic double crochet and then a single crochet into the back loop only. And we'll be repeating that all the way around, and it's really fun to start to see these stitches work up to be in pattern. And now I'm going to change colors at the end of round 5 to get set up for round 6. So for round 6, we are going to be doing the color B. But we also have a lot of white blank spaces here, and yes, this is how it's going to be worked. We're going to be doing a single crochet in the back loop only for the first 3 spaces of the repeat, then a mosaic double crochet, and then single crochet in the back loop only. So this will start by single crocheting in the back loop only for the first 3 stitches. And then we will do a mosaic double crochet. And then we're going to single crochet in the back loop only for 2 stitches. And then we're just going to keep repeating that. And yes, it does mean that we have a group of single crochet stitches all together. There's 5 of them once we start doing the repeat that are in one area until we get to the next mosaic double crochet. But the repeat in the chart and on the pattern, I'm repeating from this point over. So it's single crochet 3 in the back loop only, mosaic double crochet 1, single crochet in the back loop only for 2. And this is where we can really start to see this very first pattern come alive. And so if you've never done mosaic before or a mosaic garment, it is this easy. It's quite simple to do, and especially with this design, it's a great one to start out with. So I'm going to continue to repeat round 6 until I get to the end, and then we're going to talk about round 7 and those increases. And now we are ready for round 7. Now round 7 has these increases, so we're going to be talking about those. Let's walk through this round repeat together. We're going to do a mosaic double crochet in the first stitch, and then a mosaic double crochet into the next. And then this is where we are going to do 2 mosaic double crochets into this one space. So this will be worked 2 stitches in one space. That is an increase. Then we will single crochet in the back loop, then we'll do a mosaic double crochet, and then in the next we'll do 2 mosaic double crochets into that one stitch. So let's see how this looks. First we'll start by doing a mosaic double crochet. That was that first stitch. Then another mosaic double crochet, which is that next stitch. And then here's where we're going to do 2 mosaic double crochets into that one front loop. So we've increased, we've done 2. That's this stitch. Then we will single crochet into the back loop only. Then we are going to do a mosaic double crochet. That's that stitch. And now we're going to do 2 mosaic double crochets into that next front loop. And that finishes out that stitch. And this is just repeating that again and again. So we do some increasing here for this round because we'll need to do some increasing on this yoke, and I've kind of sandwiched it in between the designs to make it a little bit easier. So once again, we'll do 2 mosaic double crochets into the next 2 stitches, and then 2 mosaic double crochets into the next, doing that increase, single crochet into that back loop only, do a mosaic double crochet into the next, and then into the next 2 mosaic double crochets into that 1 stitch. And we will work this all the way around, and this is going to increase by 20 stitches. So for the yoke, we've been doing this with a 120 stitches. At the end of round 7, we will have a total of 160 stitches. Now at the end of round 7, we have completed the very first section of this yoke. We're not fastening off. We're not doing any fastening off. We're going to continue into that next section, which will once again change colors to the color B. We'll move into the section 2, which I just want to note the section 2 is just single crocheting in the back loop only in each stitch all the way around. And so this is where I'm going to leave you, and I am going to go work up this color work through sections 2 and section 3. It's all very similar to what we have just done, working from the charts. Now, how gorgeous is this yoke once we have done all of those repeats? And now for the size small, I'm ready to do what is instructed for that specific size. So now a lot of these repeats have been the same. It didn't matter what size you were doing, but here's where in the written pattern, you'll want to pay attention because this is going to change depending on what size that you will be working. So for the size small, we just need to do a little bit more increasing. And we're going to be doing that on this next round. At this point for all the sizes, we're working to get to the right amount of increases before splitting for those arms and those sleeves. And we also want to make sure that we have the appropriate depth in that as well. So for the size small, we are going to start by working in extended half double crochet stitches. I find it's a beautiful transition from the work we've been doing here. But it also is a stitch that has a little bit more width to it. So it's a little bit less gappy, I guess you could say, than a double crochet stitch. So we're going to be working the extended half double crochet for the rest of this yoke. Now we're going to start this round by doing 2 extended half double crochets into the first, and then we will simply work extended half double crochets into the next 21 stitches, and that's going to end up being our repeat around. But let's talk about how to do those extended half double crochets. So we're going to yarn over and go into that very first stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 1, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. And that's what gives it a little bit of that extension to it, and I feel like it blends a bit easier. But for this size, we're going to be working another one into the same stitch because we have done an increase. And of course, I'll want to grab a stitch marker and mark that very first stitch of this round. So we've done 2 extended half double crochets into the very first stitch of this round. And now we're going to do extended half double crochets for the next 21 stitches. Now after working the 2 extended half double crochets and then 21 extended half double crochets, we are going to repeat that. So I'm going to work 2 extended half double crochets into the next stitch, and that'll work 21 extended half double crochet stitches around. And that's how we're going to be doing this until the end. So we'll do 2 extended half double crochets and then do 21 extended half double crochets. And that adds an increase on every 22nd stitch. Now at the end of this round for the size small for this yoke depth section, you will have a total of 230 stitches. After that, we're just simply going to work 3 more rounds in the extended half double crochet without any increasing. So finish this round of increasing, then work 3 more rounds in extended half double crochet, and then we'll come on back to split for the arms and the sleeves. After doing some rounds without increasing, you're going to notice that your garment is now folding in a bit. It's not laying as flat. That's exactly what it should be doing. We're starting to shape it down our body a bit more. And now it's time to split for the arms and the body portion of this. Now this next part is so critical for any customizations or adjustments for fit. Now if I am showing the size small and I'm going to be doing an even split here, and that works for my body, but that's not really that common compared to what we can customize here. So if you have a larger bust, we're going to want to adjust those stitches a bit. How this is going to go is we are going to work a set of stitches, and that is going to be the back part of this sweater across our back. Then we're going to skip a section, and that section will be an arm. Then we'll work another section, and that section is going to be the front part of our sweater, and then last we'll skip some stitches, and that is going to be the other arm. And we will be chaining underneath the arms as well. However, if you want more stitches in the front because you have a bigger bust, we'll want to do less stitches in the back before doing those arm stitches. And it's really, really easy to make this adjustment, so I highly recommend doing so if you want it to fit a bit better. And this is one round. I know it's one big round. However, it's one round that you can then try on and see how you like it. And do not be afraid to frog one round and say, you know what, I'm going to take a few more stitches from the back and put them on the front because that fits my chest area better, or I don't need as much fabric in the back as I need on the front. This is the critical part to adjust to make it perfect for your body. So for the size small, I'm going to start by doing the extended half double crochet for 60 stitches. Now this is the back part of the body, so this is what is going to be across the back. I'm going to mark the first stitch just so I know in case you do end up undoing anything. And I'm going to work a total of 60 stitches for the size small. So now I've worked the first 60 stitches in this round as extended half double crochets. And our next step is to skip the sleeves for our first sleeve. So we're going to skip the sleeve stitches, but we're also going to be chaining 8. So I'm going to chain 8. And then we're going to skip 55 stitches, and I've gone ahead and marked that just to make it quick on camera. And we're skipping 55 stitches, and then we'll go right into that next stitch that we need to work, and we will do a extended half double crochet. And this is where we're going to be working now across the front. So if you're working more stitches here because you worked less in the back, this is where we're going to be doing it. This is across the front. So now I'm going to be working a total, including the one I just did, of 60 stitches across the front. So we're basically repeating the steps we've just done on this particular garment on this size, from the back, skipping a sleeve, and then we're going to do the same amount of stitches, so 60, and then skip 55, chain 8 and skip 55 again. But you don't have to keep it that even of a split. Every body is different, and this is where, like I said, you want to go ahead and make those adjustments. So I am going to go ahead and do the extended half double crochet for a total of 60 stitches across the front. So now after working the front portion of this in the 60 extended half double crochets, I am going to chain 8. So we want to have it be the same as the other side for under the arm. And then I'm going to skip 55 stitches, which happens to be and should be the very last stitches of this round. And then we're going to go right into the next round, and it helps if you kind of fold it down. So this isn't going to be able to fit flat. It's a beautiful yoke. Sometimes I just want to take that yoke, put it in a frame, and put it on my wall. I love it. It's so beautiful. So in order to wear it though, we have to shape it. So now it will fold in half, and that will be the way it will sit a little bit better. And we're going to go right into the first stitch of this next round because we're working them continuously. And we're going to do an extended half double crochet into that stitch and then keep on working. You can place a stitch marker if you want to keep track of the beginning of the round, but it's not as critical at this point because I can always tell my beginning of the round is going to be the back side of this sleeve, mainly because this color shift right here, which I'm going to be honest kind of bugs me, but it's part of the joy of this yarn. This will be at the point of you know, when I will know this is the beginning of the round. But if you want to mark it, feel free to mark that. And we're just going to keep working around and around and around and across these chains. So this is what we will be doing next. I'm going to turn this so we can kind of see it from the front. Now it looks more like a sweater in terms of shape, and a couple more rounds we'll see it even better. So these openings here are for the arms, and then this opening here with these chains is for the body, and the arms and the body will both work into these chains when we get there. But for now we're just going to be working the body into these chains. So as we work around, I'll work across the back stitches, across these chains, across the front stitches, and then across these chains for the next round. And then we're just going to keep working this body area all the way down to the length that we want. Customization tip again. I know I'm giving lots of customization tips because I want you to love this and I want you to wear it. When we're working the body, if you want to do some shaping, please do. This is where you can do some extended half double crochet 2 together along the sides if you would like to bring it in and make it more narrow. And then you can also bring it back out at your hips if you would like. Or if you know, like, hey, as I work down my body, I have a bit more of a pear shape. I'm going to want a little bit more room here. Let's add some stitches towards the bottom. We don't have any more designs that have to be in a specific stitch count repeat. So we can have odd numbers of stitches, even number of stitches, doesn't matter. The ribbing at the bottom will work out just great no matter really what we do. We just want to keep working and making it to be what we want. Now for me, I do want this to just be a little bit of a cozy, less shaped sweater. So I'm just going to work it without any increasing or decreasing from this point until I get the length that I want before we're going to start that bottom ribbing. And it's just working in the round in the extended half double crochet. This is a great time to find a new movie and work all those stitches in that solid color. Now that we have worked the length we want from the underarm down, but before we do the ribbing, we can go ahead and transition back to our color B to do that bottom ribbing. You also, if you want to keep it more plain, you can keep it with this color A and do the ribbing in the same way. It's completely up to you. But I'm going to switch back to this colorful yarn, the Prism, for that ribbing. Now when we are looking at the bottom of the sweater here, we have these extended half double crochets we're working, and if we were to go right into that ribbing, it would be quite the color jog based on the height of the stitch that we're currently working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to single crochet into the next stitch, and that's going to bring that height down a little bit. And then in the next stitch we're going to do a slip stitch, but we're going to join back to the color B in order to do this colorful ribbing. So I'm just going to yarn over and slip stitch with the color B, and now I'm set up to do the ribbing and get started with that. Now we can go ahead and fasten off our color A, and now we're going to be working with the color B, and we are going to chain 9. Now after chaining 9, I'm going to tighten down that last chain, and then working in these back humps, I like to work this first row in the back humps. We are going to single crochet in that second chain from the hook and in each stitch across, which means we have 8 single crochet stitches. Now this is where you can adjust the width of your ribbing. So if you want it to be a bit longer, you're going to chain more. If you want it to be a bit narrower of a ribbing, you are going to chain less. This is a join as you go ribbing, and that means we're going to work it and work along the edge of the bottom of the sweater. That way we don't have to create ribbing and come back and hand seam it on later. This is going to be join as we go. Now once we have our first row, because this is worked in the rows, we have 8 total single crochet stitches, and we are going to slip stitch 2 stitches from the edge of the body here. Now the next step is to turn our work, and then we are going to skip those 2 slip stitches. So the 2 slip stitches that we did along the bottom edge of the sweater, we're going to skip, and now we're going to be working in the back loops only, so not through both, through the back loop only for 8 single crochet stitches. Now in the very edge stitch, the one that is farthest away from the body, if you want to work this very last one through the both loops, it does make a slightly cleaner edge. I don't know how noticeable it is, but I also just like that it is a little bit less stretchy on that very last stitch. Now I'm going to turn my work again. So I'm going to turn back. And now we're going to chain 1, and then starting in the back loops, or for that very first stitch, if you want to work it through both loops, we'll work those 8 single crochet stitches through those back loops, creating that ribbing. Now that we're back to the edge of the sweater, we are going to slip stitch the next 2 stitches along that edge, turn our work, and we're just repeating those last 2 rows. So we'll skip the 2 edge slip stitches, working in the back loop only. We will single crochet for 8, turn our work, chain 1, and work our way back down, single crocheting in the back loop only for 8, and slip stitching 2 along the edge. So we'll just keep repeating those 2 rows all the way around until we have worked along the entire bottom edge of the sweater. Now for the bottom ribbing, we are going to be slip stitching our current row with our first row. But one way I like to do this so that my slip stitches aren't on the outside of my work is to simply flip this and work it from the inside. So it's worked a little bit opposite than I sometimes do on my hats that have that flip up cuff, because then this is hidden when you flip up the bottom of that hat. But for this, we're going to do it a little bit differently. And we're going to chain 1 and then grabbing the back loop of our very first row, and then coming back and grabbing the back loop of our current row, then we will slip stitch those together. So we're grabbing the back loop from each edge here of those stitches, those 2 stitches, and then slip stitching those together. So enter the back loop only, and slip stitch. And we will do that for each stitch across, which is 8 total stitches, and that's going to join these edges together. You can work this on the outside of your work if you're more comfortable doing so, because when we flip it to the inside, we're doing it a little bit opposite. But I like keeping this part right here, so this is the inside of the sweater, where those slip stitches will not show. Now, as we turn our work here, this is what the outside of the sweater will look like, and it's a really nice seamless join here. It makes it look really good. You can tell where our seam is only because of the color work. Now we're going to come back and we are going to work around this sleeve opening. We're going to do that by keeping our seam, I guess you could say, where we're going to begin each round at the bottom underneath the arm. So basically in the armpit. And we're going to grab one of those loops. So we're going to work 1 stitch per stitch all the way around, because we have all of these stitches, and then we have our chains, which are stitches. And for this size small, it will be 63 stitches around. But we're going to attach our yarn, and if you want to, you can pull through and do a slip stitch, or you can simply create a slip knot and place that onto your hook to get started. So now I'm going to enter that very first stitch, and we're going to start with a single crochet. The reason why is we're going to even it out in the opposite way. Before, on that bottom ribbing, we did a single crochet stitch before doing the ribbing to even it out, and for this we're starting with a single crochet, so we don't start with a really tall stitch. And then we will do our extended half double crochet into the next. And this first round will be the most fickly. Once you get going, the sleeves are quite easy to do. And then into the next stitch, I'm going to work until I get to this corner here, and we're going to talk about how it can have some gaps. So this is 1 stitch before this corner. All the stitches, if you look, are used from here to here. And when I say used, I mean it's not an actual stitch, it's the edge of a stitch. This stitch here has been worked by this stitch here. So our next stitch to work, after doing the one that's we're going to currently do is way over here. So I have a tip for you to close this gap a bit as we're working it, and we're going to be working essentially an extended half double crochet two together. So we'll yarn over and insert our hook and then pull up a loop, and then insert our hook again, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, and we'll pull through the first two loops on the hook, and then we'll yarn over and pull through the remaining three. Now we're not actually decreasing anything. We're keeping the stitch count we need. We're just going to do that one more time. It's a way for us to grab those stitches on the edge there that we wouldn't normally work, that would leave a big gap, and we're going to work some extended half double crochets two together in order to lessen that gap but not change the stitch count we need. So now I'm going to go into the next stitch here as part of this decrease. We want to make sure we get into that next stitch, and you can even do it where you're yarning over and pulling through the first three. So you have inserted into those edge stitches 3 times, and then I can complete that decrease. You might have a little bit of a hole here, but it's not too big of a deal because we can come back with our tail end and weave that in on the inside. And you can even just keep working, and you can just close that hole by sewing it later. But by doing these decreases and on between working the stitches, it can help to lessen that hole. Now as I get back around, be sure to check your stitches and make sure that your stitch count is correct. We haven't added any or decreased any stitches. This first round, it's important to just get on track, and then the rest of it, we'll know what we're working into. This next round will be much easier because it's just not having any edges to work into. Now this is the beginning of the round, and I'm going to move that stitch marker, but I'm actually, just for my own sanity, going to grab a second stitch marker, and I'm going to mark the front of that stitch. It can get lost pretty easily, and I want to know what the first stitch of the round is for the very first round as well, because we're not going to be joining, we're going to be working continuously. So I'm going to do an extended half double crochet into that very first stitch of the round, and then you can go ahead and mark the first stitch of the round from here on out, because we will be doing some decreasing, but we're not quite yet. So we are going to be doing 9 total rounds from our very first round without decreasing. So no decreases. We're just going to work 9 rounds using the extended half double crochet, working them continuously. So that means we're not going to join in chain 1 or anything. We're going to work those continuously for 9 rounds. And then when you come on back after working those for this size, we'll talk about how to do some decreasing underneath the arm. Now after doing 9 rounds, we're going to start talking about decreasing, and we're going to always be decreasing under the arm. That way it's not that noticeable when we look at this. This is the under the arm part, and we're going to always decrease there. Now you can decrease and then mark that stitch to keep track of them, or you can just always make sure that your decrease is about midway under the arm. Sometimes when we're working in crochet, there's a little bit of a travel, a little bit of a lean, and to fight that a little bit, if you don't want this to end up being in a noticeable area of your sleeve, you can make sure that it is always underneath the sleeve. So from here on out, we are going to be doing an extended half double crochet 2 together per round. So the beginning of the round, we'll start by doing that extended half double crochet stitch together. And you can mark that if you need to, and then you'll work all the way around again, and then we'll repeat that. So every single round will just have 1 decrease underneath the arm, and we're going to continue to do that until our stitch count is 36 stitches, and then we'll talk about the arm length. I have the arm length as 39 total rounds for the average arm length. Once again though, rarely are people the average size throughout their entire body. That's just not really a thing, so we can make adjustments to the sleeve as we want. But I'll continue to work this decreasing underneath the arm. By every single time I get to underneath the arm, we're going to go ahead and do a extended half double crochet 2 together, decreasing by 1 stitch per round. And if you need to, grab a stitch marker and you can mark where you decrease, just to make sure when you work around again, you're going to do another decrease under that arm. Now, as you can see, when we continue to decrease that underneath the sleeve, it tapers that sleeve down, and you'll want to do that until there are a total of 36 stitches around the cuff. And then you want to make sure there are a total of 39 rounds. However, the rounds are adjustable. So for the size small, we actually stopped decreasing a few rounds before we got to the end here of a total of 39 rounds. The reason why is I'm giving a little bit of extra area here to adjust the length of the sleeve. So if you've gotten to 36 stitches, try it on, see if you want to add those more rounds or not. You may need, if you have longer arms, you might need to add a couple more rounds. So this gives us a little bit of wiggle room to adjust the arm length for what we want and where we want it to hit us on that arm length. So once you are happy with that, we are going to go ahead and start the cuff ribbing. Now, when we are ready to start working the cuff ribbing, we once again want to even this out just as we did on the bottom of this. So we will single crochet into the next stitch, and then we're going to go ahead and slip stitch in the next by joining our color bees so that we are set up with the right yarn color to work this cuff ribbing. Now, once we have joined with our color bee, we can go ahead and fasten off our main color. Now, to do the cuff ribbing, we are going to start by chaining 9. And then we'll tighten down that last chain as our turning chain and single crochet in the second chain from the hook and across to the sleeve edge. And then this will be worked the exact same way that we did the bottom ribbing here. So it's the exact same instructions, just working into those cuff stitches to add the cuff ribbing. Now this is just worked the same way, only we're slip stitching along the cuff ribbing, turning our work. Now this is worked in the exact same way, only we're slip stitching along the 2 stitches along the cuff, turning our work, skipping those 2 slip stitches and single crocheting in that back loop only all the way across. And then we will end up working this all the way around the edge of this cuff and joining this exact same way when we get to the end as we did on that bottom ribbing. Now, after working all the way around, we're going to join this, and you can slip stitch on the outside by working it this way. You can chain 1 and then working those back loops and slip stitching them together, or you could kind of flip it inside out and kind of do this a little bit in reverse where our side we're working is farthest away from us. And we are going to slip stitch through the back loop of the first row we worked, and then the back loop of the current row, and then we will slip stitch all those together. And I'm going to work that all the way down. I'm going to work that all the way down, joining those edges. And this way on the other side of our work, it looks very unnoticeable other than the color change. And after completing that cuff ribbing, you can fasten off and weave in all your ends. Give this a light block if needed to make that fabric look extra crisp and nice. It's like ironing your clothes when you go ahead and do either a wet block, or for something like this, you can simply spray it and let it lay flat to dry. And this is also how it came out in another size. I love both of these because we have the yarn ends, but we also have contrasting colors here to show the difference and how like it looks like a completely different sweater when you put it in a different color. And the Prism, the beautiful thing about it is there will never be 2 sweaters alike because of the way that the color changes go. It's kind of a surprise to see how those work out, where the colors shift, and that's part of the fun with working with a yarn that does color changing by itself, such as the yarn with Prism from Maxim. I really hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and come back for some more fun projects soon.